I think before the debate happened last night, the Kamala Harris people said that they would actually like to do another debate in October. And I know that last night Fox News sent letters to your campaign and her campaign offering 3 dates of debates moderated by Martha and Brett. One is October 9th in Arizona.
Well, I wouldn't want to have Martha and Brett. I'd love to have somebody else other than Martha and Brett. I'd love to have...
After Donald Trump's historically disastrous debate performance last night, he had no choice but to run to his friends at the Fox Propaganda Network. Guess Donald Trump needed his safe space after suffering total humiliation last night. But it wasn't just Kamala Harris who delivered knockout blows to Donald Trump. Taylor Swift's endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris might have been the biggest blow to Trump last night, which is crazy to say, considering just how bad that debate performance was. But Taylor Swift not only encouraging her fans to vote for Kamala Harris, but encouraging them to register to vote, doing the good work of getting more young people involved and engaged with democracy. I absolutely love it. But of course, Donald Trump and the MAGA host at Fox did not like that. It seems like Donald Trump's focus might be on Taylor Swift now, even more so than Kamala Harris. And so she lashed out at her in this interview, going as far as to threaten her. It was really scary as he just to lose control. But before we get into all of that, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, it really goes a long way in supporting this channel. Now let's get into the beginning of this bizarre Fox and Friends interview with Donald Trump.
Mr. President, how do you feel about the night? 105 minutes long. You've done this before. I think your 8th one. What is your review of your performance?
Well, I looked at the poll numbers. I listened to Harold Ford. I don't know what he was watching because I think he wasn't watching the debate that I was in yesterday. I think we did great. It was 3-1. It was a rigged deal, as I assumed it would be, because when you looked at the fact that they were correcting everything and not correcting with her, and we knew it when it was 100% good coverage for her over the last month or last year. I looked at it and only bad coverage of me, no matter what.
So this is the line that we continue to see from MAGA, that the debate was unfair. Shan Hannity was trying to prep everyone in MAGA media early on, saying that ABCE is biased and they're best friends with KLA Harris, whatever that means. But Trump is asserting that it was a 3-on-1 debate and the moderators were unfair to him or biased against him because they continuously fact-checked him. Which incredible job by ABC to hold him accountable. But I saw last night CNN's fact-checker. Daniel Dale reported Donald Trump told 34 lies while Kamala Harris made one false statement last night. So Donald, that's the reason that you were fact-checked so much, not because they're biased against you, but because you can't stop lying if you're going to assert that immigrants are eating cats and dogs. Yes, you're going to be fact-checked, and it's the reason why Donald Trump is so afraid of another debate. And I don't think he'll even want to do one, even if it's with the Fox Propaganda Network. And he kind of alluded to that right here.
I think before the debate happened last night, the Kamala Harris people said that they would actually like to do another debate in October. And I know that last night Fox News sent letters to your campaign and her campaign offering 3 dates of debates moderated by Martha and Brett. One is October 9th in Arizona.
Well, I wouldn't want to have Martha and Brett. I'd love to have somebody else other than Martha and Brett. I'd love to have, frankly, Sean or Jesse or Laura, somebody else.
It's not enough for Donald Trump to run to his space on the Fox Propaganda Network. He needs Jesse Waters, or he needs Laura Ingraham, or he needs Shah Hannity to moderate a debate for him. That's so funny. You can't even Brett Baier, I think, would do a decent job moderating a debate. Not a fan of Brett Baier, but I feel like he would be a little bit more honest than the average host at Fox. But really, Jesse Waters moderating a debate just so ridiculous from Donald Trump. But like I said, continually spiraling from last night, not only because he was so humiliated in that debate, like we all predicted, but because of Taylor Swift's endorsement that made him really unravel on her. But before we get to what he said, I want to read a bit from Taylor Swift's endorsement because it was so great. Taylor Swift took to Instagram writing, I will be casting my vote for KLA Harris and Tim Walz in the 2024 presidential election. I'm voting for KLA Harris because she fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them. I think she is a steady hand, gifted leader, and I believe we can accomplish so much more in this country if we are led by calm and not by chaos. I was so heartened and impressed by her selection of running mate Tim Walz, who has been standing up for LGBTQ plus rights IVF and a woman's right to her own body for decades with Love and Hope, Taylor Swift Childless Cat Lady, and that historic endorsement LED Donald Trump to say this on Fox and Friends this morning.
He's doing great. Hey, I've got a quick question for you. Out of nowhere, after the debate last night, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. What do you think?
Well, I actually like Mrs. I actually like Mrs. Mahomes much better, if you want to know the truth. She's a big Trump fan. I was not a Taylor Swift fan. It was just a question of time. You couldn't possibly endorse Biden. You look at Biden, you couldn't possibly endorse him. But she's a very liberal person. She seems to always endorse a Democrat, and she'll probably pay a price for it in the marketplace. But no, I like Brittany. I think Brittany's great. Brittany got a lot of news last week. She's a big MAGA fan. That's the one I like much better than Taylor Swift.
Right.
I don't know about you, but that seems like a threat from Donald Trump saying that she'll likely pay a price for her endorsement. Donald Trump never wants to come out and exactly say what he wants his MAGA movement to do, what he wants his cultists to do. We saw this on January 6th. He's always happy to allude to the action, though. Oh, it seems like people are getting pretty upset. That's what he told Mike Pence. That's what he was saying out loud. I'm not going to be surprised if they take this up with their government. And so that's what it seems like to me that Donald Trump is going to encourage. And I expect to see more of this in the coming days. Attacks on Taylor Swift, at least to boycott her music. Of course, that is what we always see from the right. And what we see from the MAGA movement, but that wasn't the only attack Donald Trump made, is now threatening ABC in this clip right here.
Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
And the bloodbath, you were talking about the economy. It's a term that's used a lot when people are talking about a bad economy. What's your reaction to why didn't the moderators correct her?
Because they're dishonest, and because I think ABC took a big hit last night. I mean, to be honest, they're a news organization. They have to be licensed to do it. They ought to take away their license for the way they did that. Bloodbath was referring to the economy. Everybody loved the term because as soon as they heard the word, it's sort of a vicious word. But referring to the economy, they have created an economy. Bloodbath was the word that I used. And it was fine in that context. And they were trying to make it sound like there was a riot or something, and it was a bloodbath. IVF, I was a leader on IVF, the IVF, which is fertilization. I was a total leader on that. When I first heard about it, like right from the beginning, I was one of the leaders on it, and the Republican Party has been a leader on it. She tried to say it was just the opposite.
He is giving it away. He's telling us exactly what he wants to do. Donald Trump has said that he wants to be a dictator on day one. And a part of that is Donald Trump attacking media organizations that don't cover him in a biased way, but cover him fairly again last night, saying that immigrants aren't eating dogs. And cats is not an affront to Trump personally. That's not a personal attack on his character. That's just the truth. But he perceives every fact check as a slight against him because he is such a petulant child that he wants to go after media organizations. And so this should be a scary reminder to us that this debate wasn't just awful. And so we should laugh at it, which we should a little bit, but it shows the vengeance that Donald Trump has. And the reason why we have to keep him out of the White House, one of the many reasons, and another one of those, of course, as we saw last night, this is inability to talk about anything of substance, which came up in this clip right here.
But, Mr. President, this young lady right here, she's concerned about the future of the country. She's concerned about the grandkids, and she's concerned about the stress on these parents. Ma'am, what is your question for the former president?
I would like to know what kind of programs or policies he could implement to reduce the parental stress with parents having to work 1, 2. I have family members who are working 3 jobs trying to make ends meet right now.
Yeah.
Spending more and more time away from their families.
That's right. Well, we have big,
What are you going to do on day one, Mr. President?
Right. Childcare is a #1 priority, and I have no choice because I have a daughter named Ivanka, and maybe you never heard of my Ivanka, but I have a daughter named Ivanka, and that's all she talks to me about is childcare for the people, and she's the one that got it started, and Marco Rubio helped a lot, and a lot of the Republican senators. We put in a great childcare, and we'll be expanding that, and that will help you a lot.
This reminds me of a clip of Trump on Fox and Friends in the Morning that we saw about a month ago when there were a couple of voters and they were able to ask Trump a question. And one of them said, I'm struggling with the high costs of things right now. So are my kids. They can barely afford rent. I'm having to, send some of my income to them. How can you help us out? And he just says, well, I bet they're voting for me. It's always about him. You might have heard, I have a daughter named Ivanka. He's not focused on anything. And no, Donald Trump did not come up with a child care plan during his administration. It was an abject failure. And that's what Donald Trump is. And last night couldn't have proved it anymore. In every which way, his lack of character, his anger, his cognitive decline, his inability to talk policy in any substantive way, that was Donald Trump encapsulated in 90 terrifying minutes. And aren't we done with that? I certainly am. And we're going to move forward with KLA Harrison. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. Until next time, I'll see you soon.